Okay, so I sent everyone the source sheet, but I'm going to share my screen anyways. And we're going to go through it together. So yeah, we're gonna let's talk about. There's a lot to get to, so let's talk about Nachem, which we say we're gonna say on. I mean, unless Mashiach comes first, we're gonna say it on Tisha B'av this year, and Mincha. So I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read it with Art Scrolls translation, not Sefaria, just because I like Art Scrolls translation better. And then we're gonna discuss. So you could follow along on the screen, or if you have a sitter, you could follow along there. Tefillah says, Nachem Hashem Elokeinu es Avlei Tzion. Console, O Hashem, our God, the mourners of Tzion, es Avlei Yerushalayim, and the mourners of Yerushalayim, es Ha'ir Ha'avila v'Hachariva v'Habezuya v'Hashumima, and the city that is mournful, that is ruined, that is scorned, and that is desolate. Ha'avila mibli banea, mournful without her children. V'hachariva mim'onosea, ruined without her abodes. V'habezuya michloda, and scorned without her glory. V'hashomema me'ein yoshev, and desolate without inhabitants. V'hiyosheves v'rosha chafoi ki'isha akara shelo yalada, she sits with head that is uncovered like a woman who is barren, who never gave birth. V'yivla'ua legionos v'yereshua v'zarim, devoured her, have legions, and conquered her, have idolaters. They have cast their people Israel to the sword by and murdered wantonly the devout servants of the Supreme One. Therefore, Sion bitterly weeps for Yerushalayim, teaching Kola, and Yerushalayim raises her voice. Libi al Chaleim. Her voice, my heart, it aches for their slain. May I al Chaleim, my innards, they ache. They're slain. Kiyata Hashem Ba'ish Hitasa. For you, Hashem, with fire you consumed her. Again, referring to Yerushalayim. Ba'ish Hitasa Nosa, and with fire you will in the future rebuild her. Kamor Vaniya Yala Neum Hashem. Chomas Eish Saviv Ulchavod Yebeso. Like as the pasuk says, I will be for her the words of Hashem, a wall of fire surrounding and glorious will I be in her midst. Baruch Atah Hashem, blessed are you Hashem Menachem Tzion, who consoles Tzion, Uvone Yerushalayim, and rebuilds Yerushalayim. So that's the tefillah. That's the tefillah we're going to say on Tisha B'av, Nachem. So does anything the first time I took a look at this in preparation for this year, I had one very strong sensation. I want to know if anyone else feels this. Does anyone have a strong feeling after they read this, particular feeling, a positive feeling or a negative feeling after reading this tefillah? So the feeling that I had is almost like, is this tefillah even relevant for us anymore? Because again, what's the theme of this tefillah seems to be is Yerushalayim is all so desolate, right? Destroyed. It even says, right, in one of the lines that is really hard for me, and I was like, are we saying that is V'yereshua ovdei zarim, and it's conquered by the idolaters, right? Meaning that we don't even have it anymore. So should we even still be saying this tefillah right now? Seems kind of, like maybe 100 years ago, or ever before we reconquered Yerushalayim, it would be appropriate to say, but now maybe since we have Yerushalayim, it's no longer appropriate for us to say. So that was my feeling. Anyone have any thoughts about that? Maybe we still should be saying that.
Roey?
Yeah,
please.
Roey, couldn't you argue that, I mean, maybe since like the Dome of the Rock or sort of we don't have full control over Yerushalayim, you could argue that there is still relevance to the tefillah, maybe not in the same regard as in the past, but maybe now there is a little bit, especially since we don't have like full total control over Yerushalayim.
Good, yeah, good. So that's for sure true. And we're gonna mention Rav Soloveitchik and Rav Ovadia Yosef, who basically say similar to what you want to say. And that's already the answer. but yeah, very, very good. It's we kind of have Yerushalayim, right? We're in this like weird position where we have Yerushalayim, but we don't really have base of Mikdash. We don't have full control, right? Baruch Yosef, were you going to say something?
I was going to say something similar, that we spiritually haven't achieved redemption of Zion and the rebuilding of the Beis Hamikdash. So.
Right. Okay. So it's good. Similar to Benjamin. The problem is a lot of there's basically after the 6-Day War. I didn't realize how controversial this tefillah was, but after the 6-Day War, there's a big debate among the rabbis in Israel if we should still be saying this. And the problem is there's an idea of dover shvarim lifnei Hashem, that basically we don't want to say lies in front of Hashem. And so maybe by saying that Yerushalayim is destroyed, right? Even though right, it's not fully we have the mikdash, but maybe the language of this tefillah is so strong, right? Even though what Benjamin, what Baruch Yosef are saying is true, that we don't have the mikdash, maybe we can't be saying as strong of this language, because that's not true. So there are those who propose. Rabbi Doran, who was one of the rabbis in Israel, he proposed a different tefillah that we should say. And he actually said we shouldn't say Nachem, it should be called Rachem. And he has different language, which basically felt was more relevant. There was another opinion. There was almost like a middle opinion before we get for the other extreme, is that there was the opinion of Rabbi Chaim David Halevi, who said that basically we should just change the tense of the tefillah, and instead of saying that Yerushalayim is right destroyed, to say it was destroyed, right? The city that was in mourning, etc. And by doing that, we wouldn't be lying, right? But we'd still be sticking to the original tefillah, and we'd still have that. We'd still be able to say that it's not, because it's not really fully Yerushalayim yet until there's Beis Hamikdash. But Rabbi Ovadia Yosef and Rav Soloveitchik, so basically Rav Ovadia Yosef dealt with Rabbi Goren himself. He vehemently opposed this, and he said no, that he said for two reasons. And number one, we don't want to change the text, and number two, he says, how could you say that Yerushalayim is rebuilt again? He says, you look outside, are people keeping Torah mitzvos? There's people desecrating Shabbos in public. This is not fully Yerushalayim. And Rav Soloveitchik said he had a similar to what Benjamin I think was saying, was that he brings from the Rambam, who basically defines Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim is defined by the fact that there's a mikdash. That basically part and parcel of Yerushalayim is that there is a mikdash, and so by saying that Yerushalayim is destroyed, it's true, because we don't have the base of mikdash with us. And then that's that idea. The other thing that I want to mention before we go further into understanding this tefillah is that if you look in the first line, right, Nachem Hashem Elokeinu Avlei Tzion v'Avlei Yerushalayim, is that it mentions like these two components. There's Tzion and there's Yerushalayim. So when I first looked at this tefillah, I was thinking, okay, what's the difference between Tzion and Yerushalayim? Why do we have this repetition? So I saw from Shimshon Raphael Hirsch that he says that Tzion is a spiritual, basically the spiritual component to Yerushalayim, and then Yerushalayim is almost like the Jewish commonwealth that comes as a result of the spiritual component. So maybe you could say Yerushalayim only Yerushalayim when it stems from having from Tzion, basically a spiritual Yerushalayim. And so that was a third way, which that maybe we could be okay still saying this today. Does that make sense to everyone? Does anyone have any thoughts or questions regarding that? Okay, so let's keep going. So the next component to the shir is we're gonna have to evaluate basically what's really the goal of this tefillah, because we translated it and we talked about, okay, is it really relevant for us? So the next part is really what's the goal. And so in order to do that, we're going to look at the origins of the tefillah, which is sourced in the Talmud Yerushalmi. It mentions the tefillah. It says that let's go through it quickly. We basically the Gemara says that on Tisha B'Av you need a you need to mention Me'ein HaMe'or, which basically means that like the stuff that is relevant about the day, right? Similar to how on Hanukkah we mentioned Al Nisim, right? Because we talk about talk about the day in our tefillah. And so it lists this tefillah, right? It says, what should we say? And it lists, it says, tefillah says, Rachim Hashem Elokeinu. I know it says Rachim, not Nachem. Throughout the years, basically the minhag was changed and people started saying Nachem, not Rachim. And it continues and it says Rachim Hashem Elokeinu B'Rachim Echad Ravim. And there's a few differences, but it's almost exactly similar to the tefillah we say today, which is Nachem. And so that's where it sourced from, the Gemara and Yerushalmi. So, but the Gemara then says something interesting, which is this next source 3, which is that the Gemara asks, where should we say this? Where should we say this in our tefillah? Which part of our tefillah should we say? And the Gemara entertains 2 possibilities, which is one that we should say in Ritzei, right? The bracha of avoda, where we're asking for basically for the Beis Hamikdash, which, right? As we from our discussion so far, we're talking about Yerushalayim, the Mikdash, that makes a lot of sense, right? Why we would say this tefillah in the Ritzei. But the other possibility that the Gemara mentions is modim. Okay, so just to take a step back, I know that today we don't say it in either of those. We don't say it in Ritzei or we don't say it in modim. We say it in Yerushalayim Yercha. We say that's where we say Nachem. So again, the minhag was changed throughout the years, and we started saying in Yerushalayim. But it's interesting, right? We're gonna have to understand why would the Gemara even Gemara ends up saying, I think that we say it in Ritzei, but why would we even think about saying it in modim? Like, this doesn't seem like a tefillah that's something that we're thanking Hashem for, right? Again, we're talking about how Yerushalayim is destroyed. Essentially, that's the main part of the tefillah. So why would we even mention it in modim? Does anyone have any ideas why it could be in modim? It's almost perplexing why that would be. Modim is a tefillah of thanks, right? To thank Hashem. And this does not really seem like a tefillah which is, being thankful to Hashem. So I have a few answers I'm ready to share, but if anyone has any ideas, please feel free.
It could be, Roey, that maybe you're aspiring. We still have something to aspire for. I know it maybe a little counterintuitive because we want it to happen so soon and right now, but it could be that we're thankful that every single day we still get to pray and have the possibility to get better and strive towards a goal.
Very nice, Benjamin. It's a beautiful answer. Does anyone have any other ideas? Okay, so the first answer we'll bring is, again, similar to what Benjamin was saying, is that I heard an idea from Rabbi Ezra Schwartz, who's one of the Rebbeim at YU, and he said that we could bring this. Maybe the reason why the Gemara thinks that we should say it in the modim tefillah is because it's almost like we're thanking Hashem that even though we don't have the Beis Hamikdash anymore, right? Is that we can go on and still be practicing Jews, right? And still connect to Kadosh Baruch Hu, even though we don't have the Beis Hamikdash anymore. And so that was his idea about why we say it in modim. He brought another idea from the Pri Megadim, who says that basically there's a machlokes Rambam Rashi, which I think we even alluded to in the past, which is that is right. There's the Rambam says that that Beis Hamikdash, we're going to bring it, and Rashi says that the Beis Hamikdash is going to come down in a fire. So Pri Megadim says maybe the idea is that the Beis Hamikdash is almost ready to be brought down. It is brought down, and we're thanking Hashem for bringing it down and having it ready for us. It's just that when we do tshuva, then it's going to be revealed to us. So it's almost like we're thanking Hashem for the Beis Hamikdash that is here right now, just waiting to be revealed. So that's another idea. But the third idea, which is, and not exactly the idea that I heard, but idea put together, that so there's a question, that a famous question that people deal with, is that so we know that the Beis Hamikdash started burning in the afternoon Tisha B'av, on the 9th day. So while that's true, we also know that the more strict halachos in regard to mourning on Tisha B'av actually are relevant in the morning of the day on Tisha B'av. And by the time we get to the afternoon, right? By the time we get to the afternoon, we're already more lenient. So the question is, if the Beis Hamikdash didn't start burning until the afternoon, then that should be the time where we're more strict. We're doing it the wrong way. Does everyone understand the question? It's almost backwards. Is my question clear? Okay, so yeah, so it's a big question, and there are a lot of people who deal with answers. So I'll share with you one answer that I heard from Soloveitchik, who says that really we are mourning more after Chatzot is because of our sins, the Kadosh Baruch Hu should have destroyed us. He really should have destroyed us. However, right, he almost had mercy on us. He has mercy on us and destroys a building, right? Of course, the most holy building, Beis Hamikdash, where Kadosh Baruch Hu's Shechina is. But instead of destroying us, he destroys a building made out of physical materials instead of us. And so for that, right? For that, we're almost like happy, and we start mourning less in the afternoon of Tisha B'av. So in the same way, right? Maybe you could say that the reason that the Gemara suggested that there's a modim that we should say Nachem and modim, right, is because we're thanking Hashem we're almost thanking Hashem, right, for not destroying us, but rather destroying the Beis Hamikdash. So that way, once we do tshuva, right, we can get a Beis Hamikdash again. So that was the idea that I thought. The next
could be that you thank Hashem for the bad too.
Oh, very good, Shia. It's a beautiful answer. That just as you thank Hashem for the good, right? We also say to thank Hashem for the bad, because it's all Kadosh Baruch Hu's plan. Beautiful idea. Okay, so that's a fourth possibility. Okay, so then just this one more component to tefillah is that if you notice, we only say this tefillah Nachem at mincha. So right here from I just brought the Shulchan Aruch and brought the Ramah, but the Shulchan Aruch basically gets it from the Rambam, who says to say the Nachem tefillah. But the Rambam says to say this 3 times a day. You say it at Mariv, to say it at Shachar, and to say it at Mincha. The way we paskin, like the Ramah, is to say we only say it at Mincha. So the question is, how come we're only saying this at Mincha and not during the whole day? So 2 famous answers. If you look here in the Ramah, he alludes to one of them. He actually says one of them here. He says because the Beis Hamikdash was basically like, right, the idea that we mentioned before, right? Because the Beis Hamikdash started burning in the afternoon, we only say it at Mincha, because we only want to say it during the time the Beis Hamikdash was actually being destroyed. The other idea, right? So that's one idea that the Ramah brings from the Beis Yosef. He says it. The other idea, though, is that from the Bach, he says that it's a very, very interesting idea. He says that before Mincha, right, where it's almost as if there's he uses the phrase "meis mutal b'fanav." It's like you have like a corpse in front of you, and so unfortunately, when it happens, Rahman al-Flan, right? If someone dies, right, we don't start sitting shiva until the body is actually buried. So in the same way, right, in regard to Tisha B'av, in regard to being consoled by a Kadosh Baruch Hu, to have a Nachama from a Kadosh Baruch Hu, right, we don't have that until the body is buried. And so the Bach's idea is that until Mincha, right, it's almost as if the corpse is lying in front of us, and only at Mincha are we able to have a Nachama from a Kadosh Baruch Hu, to be consoled from a Kadosh Baruch Hu. So that's a powerful idea of the Bach. Fine. So that's clear to anyone. Anyone have any thoughts on all of that? Okay. So then the last part about the tefillah, which so I'm going to go back to the words, and this was the most interesting part to me, is that I studied this tefillah with one of my chavrusas before, and so we got to the last line and we said Baruch Atah Hashem Menachem Tzion Bonei Yerushalayim. So we were discussing, okay, so there's it seems to be that there's two parts, right? There's Menachem Tzion, that Hashem, he should console Tzion, and also he should Bonei Yerushalayim, he should build Yerushalayim. So when my chavrusa, my friend, what he asked me, he says, I don't understand. What does it mean to be Menachem Tzion, to like console us, if it's not Bonei Yerushalayim? Isn't that what it means to be consoled, right? The only way we could get consoled, or the only way we be comforted, is if the Beis Hamikdash is built again. So that was his question to me. So we were struggling with that. I was curious to see if anyone had any ideas, right? What would be the difference between the two?
I think, Roey, it just,
please.
to me, again, it kind of, it goes to the concept of the day being our maybe a deeper understanding of what the concept of the day is, and that sure, we want the Beis Hamikdash rebuilt, but also we want Hashem's Rahmanas, so to speak, and we were in the lead up to like the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, we weren't the greatest, and we hope that we will always have Hashem's compassion and consolation, I guess is what I would say.
Seriously, are you saying, I'm not sure exactly, I understand, but you're saying like we're asking for mercy from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and we're also asking for him to build a Beis Hamikdash?
Yeah, like we want the Beis Hamikdash rebuilt because of our covenant with Hashem, and our belief in Jerusalem, but that we also always want his, we don't want to like lapse into, oh, we rebuilt the Beis Hamikdash, everything is good.
Meaning, even you're saying that Menachem Tzion is almost like the Nachem is a continuous, even after we build Yerushalayim, we should hold on to the fact that, right, to ask for mercy. Okay, that's definitely a nice idea. But it is interesting to see that Menachem Tzion comes before Bonei Yerushalayim, as opposed to maybe if it was exactly like you're suggesting, maybe you'd have Menachem Tzion after the Bonei Yerushalayim. Could be, but it's definitely a nice idea, and definitely something to hold on to. Anyone have any other suggestions? Okay, so I'm gonna share with you just a little small idea. I don't know if it exactly answers our question, but definitely something that which was powerful to me to hear. It's from idea from Rav Shimshon, from Rav Pincus, basically. So he talks about this idea. He says that he's trying to define what is nechama, right? What does it mean to console someone? So, I mean, the mashal that was brought is that, let's say someone loses $100, right? And you give them $100 back. Is that nechama? So he says, no, that's not nechama. That's replacing, right? If you lose $100 and I give you $100, I didn't console you. I just replaced your $100 with $100. Right? He says nechama is something else. That's called replacement. So it's interesting. He says, okay, where do we find nechama, this term in the Torah? So the pasuk says in Bereshit, right? He's talking about Yitzchak after Sarah dies, and he brings Rivka in her, right? And the pasuk says, "Vayinachim Yitzchak achrei imo," and Yitzchak found comfort right after his mother's death. That's the way. So that's the translation of the pasuk. And so Rashi comments on it, says, "Derech eretz kol zman she'imo she'adam kayemes karachu eretz." Right, when a person's mother is alive, he's with her. Misha Misa, when she dies, hu misnachem beishto. He finds comfort in his wife. Okay, so that's one. That's the source for Nechama. It seems to be that it's almost like, right, not replacing, like we were saying, but something else. So let's see another source. Yirmiyahu. This is a very powerful story. It says, "Atis machpesula b'malchol v'achrim king yachdav." Says he's talking about basically the time third base of Mikdash comes, and he says, okay, they're gonna, the maidens are gonna dance, young men, old men. They have fasti evlam l'sason, and I will turn their mourning into joy. V'nichamtim, and I will comfort them. V'simachtim migonam, and I will cheer them from their grief. So the question is, right, if it's already third base of Mikdash and a Kadosh Baruch Hu has already turned, right, he's already turned our mourning into joy, then what need do we have, right, for v'nichamtim, to be consoled? What is the need there to be consoled, right? If our mourning has already turned into joy, what do we need to be consoled for? We have everything, right? That's the question. So he defines, he says, Nachem is not, like we said, Nachem is not replacement. It's something else. It's something that comes from a Kadosh Baruch Hu. It's almost like filling the void that's left there when something is lost. That's why he says that's what we're talking about with Yitzchak and Rivka. It's not that Rivka is replacing Sarah. It's that she's filling a void. She's filling a space that's left over there. And so maybe that's almost the difference, right? If we take it back to the tefillah, maybe that's really the difference at the end. Menachem, the only that we're asking Hashem to almost like fill this void, this lacking that we feel because we've lost our connection to Kadosh Baruch Hu because there's no base in Mikdash. And then also in addition to that, be Bonei Yerushalayim, right? That's almost like okay, that almost is a replacement, right? But there's something separate, which is that we need to fill the void, and that's only done through a Kadosh Baruch Hu and through his ability. And I was thinking, I don't know if this is too much of a chiddush. I actually suggested this to my friends, but I don't know how much you liked it. But I said maybe you could say that's what the Gemara that deals with. Okay, do we say it in Ritzei? Do we say it in Modim? Maybe that's what it's dealing with, these two components, right? There's something that needs to be replaced, and there's a lacking that needs to be filled. So maybe, right, Ritzei, to say like, okay, to build a base of Mikdash, right? That's more of like this Bonei Yerushalayim component, right? Like almost like sort of like a replacement, right? That something needs to be there, and then maybe the Modim, right, is about the Menachem, the part that we were controlled, right? That Kadosh Baruch Hu is going to control. So maybe that's why the Gemara has the thought that maybe it could be a Modim, because we're thanking Hashem for his filling of the void that was lost for us, and that was achieved through our mourning on Tisha B'Av. So that was the idea. So does anyone have any questions, any thoughts regarding that?